This was not a strike on the Houthis. It was not aimed at Iran. Saudi Arabia carried out airstrikes on Yemen's port city of Mukalla, hitting weapons shipments meant for a very different target, a UAE-backed Yemeni separatist group. Saudi state media says the strike targeted weapons and armored vehicles unloaded at Mukalla port after ships arrived from the UAE's Fujairah port. Riyadh described the shipment as an imminent threat and said the operation was limited and precise. A military statement said the vessels had disabled their tracking systems before unloading us large quantities of arms. The Saudi military says the strike was carried out overnight to avoid civilian casualties. It remains unclear whether anyone was hurt.
Saudi Arabia has bombed a port city in Yemen, but this time they're not targeting the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. They say instead they targeted a weapons and armored vehicle shipment sent from the United Arab Emirates. This underlines just the tensions that have been growing in the anti-Houthi coalition over the last several days.
The group at the center of this escalation is the Southern Transitional Council, or STC, a southern Yemeni faction backed by the United Arab Emirates. The STC is fighting to revive an independent South Yemen and has recently seized territory in Hadramaut and Mara.
The kingdom had launched airstrikes last week on the Southern Transitional Council. This is a group of separatists in southern Yemen who have sought to make their own separate country in that region. The STC, as it's known, has been backed by the United Arab Emirates in their fight against the Houthis, and the Emiratis have been arming them. But last week, we did see Saudi Arabia launch an airstrike trying to warn the STC off from two new governorates it's taken in Yemen. Those fighters remained in those governorates, and now we're seeing the Saudis launch this airstrike.
Those advances have put the STC on a collision course with Saudi Arabia, which backs rival forces and opposes the breakup of Yemen. Riyadh has now directly warned Abu Dhabi, calling its actions extremely dangerous and signaling growing strain inside the anti-Houthi coalition. The Mukalla strike marks a rare and revealing moment in Yemen's war. Saudi Arabia is not escalating against its main enemy, the Houthis, but instead asserting red lines inside its own camp, using military force to rein in a separatist ally and reassert control over Yemen's future.
It's a remarkable change for these two neighboring countries on the Arabian Peninsula. Both are in the OPEC oil cartel and long have considered each other as brothers, largely with the same political views. But in Yemen, the differences have been starting to grow wider and wider, particularly as the STC has grown more demanding in making its own country in Yemen. Analysts warn that separating Yemen into a North Yemen and a South Yemen, as it had been for about 30 years before unification in the early 1990s, could spell more trouble for the country, but the secessionists say that that's what's needed in order to solidify their power and fight against the Houthis. These Saudi airstrikes show, though, that the tensions there are far from over.